Okay, what I did here this morning, we've had these little strip cells going across here, and the cattle, have been going back to that automatic water over there, so they got water, they got shade. Kind of sacrificed this cell, but it's a lot of big old growed up stuff, very fertile. So I'm just letting them into a new strip here today, and they got horseweeds, giant ragweeds they call them. They got cockleburrs there to eat. You see what they go for first. There's some warm season grass mixed in there. There's a clump of warm season over there, right there, by them pretty purple flowers that I can see now. Woo. Glory to Jesus. I hadn't been out here probably. That's one of them wildflowers that they talk about in Matthew that no eyes would ever see, and their colors are more glorious than anything man can make. I get to view it. I get to see it with color thanks to my new eyes. But anyways, it's one of the yearling heifers that we're exposing to a bull right now. That's another one right there. Getting their horse weeds in her mouth. You can see what they go for first. So all growing plants is forage, just about. I mean, if it's not forage to these animals, it probably is to something else. You can see them fanning out down that strip. It's just the width that they're going. And that's a good strong day. But anyways, there's my reel and my next strip set up. But I did something today different than I've been doing, because we got rain yesterday and I left them for like 32 hours on this last cell, and I got a pretty good strip here that they actually even eat under the outside of the fences just a little bit. And if your cattle are not eating under your hot wires just a little even, you're probably not pushing them quite hard enough, as long as you're giving them daily forage. And so what I did with this strip today is, instead of rolling it up like I've been doing, I rolled it on out across over there, and I hooked it to our other 3-wire over there by that cornfield of my son's. So instead of rolling this fence up today, I made a back fence, because all of that has been grazed pretty hard. In fact, when it was raining yesterday and I left them in there a little longer, I can see where they went and eat under outside of fences a little bit. They went back and re-eat some of the horseweed leaves they'd left, and they just hit it just a little bit harder. So I created a back fence. Nothing in there. I think it's only been 6 days or something since they come into that area. So at 4 to 5 days, we're getting regrowth, and I don't really want them going back and nipping it off, although they really won't if you're giving them fresh every day. Joe Salton says, you ask Joe a question about what you ought to do this, something kind of complicated, and he kind of reads people, how long you've been doing it. But I've heard him tell a lot of people, unless you're moving your animals every day, go make that happen. And when you accomplish that, it says it there, you're moving your animals every 24 hours. Doesn't matter if it's chickens or cows. But when you get that accomplished, then come back and ask the next question, because there's nothing else you should concentrate on until you can make that happen. And that happens by being able to get strategic water points. If you just come to a farm and you don't have water source, strategic water points. Usually a good perimeter fence is required to tighten your cattle back up like this and move them. You really got to have a hot wire around the outside, because cattle that have not been used to this kind of system will they'll reach through an old woven wire fence or something that's kind of dilapidated. So a lot of things you got to get in place to be able to move every 24 hours. You got to have that power feed out there on your perimeter fences. You got to have some water points established that you start grazing at, like I did. You know, I started grazing, you know, I think I put them in here for 2 or 3 days to eat this alleyway out. And I don't do narrow alleyways, you can see that. I don't want them to create a lot of paths. You can see I am getting a little, they did create just a little bit of a cow path there. And so they won't be walking there anymore because I just created a back fence. So they're gonna go back to that water right around the corner of that fence now. So see how by moving them in these strips, even though they're going back to the same shade, the same water, they're developing new patterns as you keep changing things up. Now, over there, they have some afternoon shade coming up in the form of those trees on the west side of this strip. And I also moved the mineral feeder over to the west side of that strip. So I've got something else to draw them to go over there to spend more time over there. So the more we can keep the cattle out of the shade, this week is so cool. These cattle really don't need shade. If I was really enthusiastic, I could put a fence around those shade trees and keep them from going back under them. But they're creatures of habit. They like to go back with what was familiar yesterday. So, well, those old purple flowers are out here everywhere. I know that's a weed. I know the world would tell you to spray that with Roundup, cut that off, get a shredder out and mow that off. I'll just let the cattle look at it. The bees set on it. The birds enjoy it. And my viewers, my natural grandma viewers, get to view the beauty of nature. If you're, you know, you're in a town somewhere where they shred everything and mow everything, and the only flowers you ever see are growed, you know, in a flower pot. I challenge you to find anything more beautiful. I think they would call this royalty, and I think that's some kind of a bull nettle plant or something. I don't know. I'm not very good on my weeds. My son is an agronomist. He, I'm sure, can tell you this. You know how he can tell you this? Because he's young and he has an app on his phone. And just take a picture of this and look it up. You can stop your camera right here if you want your play. Take a picture of this weed. Go to an app. What weed is this? And it'll tell you all its different names. I'm just going to call it the pretty purple plant. So I think it's a little more than purple. You know, I don't know all these colors because I've been colorblind for 67 years almost. But now I can see colors thanks to the miracle. So anyways, these old cattle are still grazing in a pretty good pattern. They'll just go back and forth across there and get their old bellies filled up. And the barn swallows are again just swooping over them and eating flies and bugs. But if you set out here, you can set here a little bit, and about 20 minutes they'll be right back over here. They have learned to graze in a competitive manner to see who can get the best first. And that's all part of training your cattle to amped grazing, regenerative ranching, MIG, management intensive grazing. There's just a lot of names for this. My stepfather didn't really understand what I was doing. He was born in 1913. He said, yeah, intensive grazing, that's it. Eat it into the ground and kill it. He thought he had a neighbor that did that with a set of Hereford cows. You know, and Hereford genetics can survive on ground that's eaten, or grass that's eaten in the ground, and produce you a calf. You know, his Black Angus genetics wouldn't have survived in that situation. In fact, if his started looking a little thin, he'd give him some of that corny graze. So, you know, I had to break out of that mold to come to what we are today, and to learn a lot of things that were familiar. You know, whether you're out here in a regenerative farm or you're in a church service, you see something that isn't altogether familiar to you and you don't understand it, sometimes it's scary. But as Kit Farrow says, quit following the herd. Break out. Try something different. You know, you don't have to do this with your entire farm, your entire cow herd. This is just a set of, you know, last fall's heifers and another set of 23 spring heifers, and you know, there's about 40 some of them out here, or 50, I don't remember what's out here exactly, but you know, I got 2 bulls with them. I'm shooting for a few of these bigger heifers to breed and calve next spring, you know, next May. I'm hoping that some of them don't breed. The smaller ones, the ones that aren't mature enough, I'm hoping that they wait and breed in the fall, and we'll expose again, you know, for 42 days, and we'll pick up some of these fall heifers then, and then they'll get another chance next summer to breed again. And so if they calve at 24 months or if they calve at 30 months, it really doesn't matter to me. I'm not putting anything in them but grass and mineral. And you know, they're worth about $17.50 a piece as a calf right now. So I guess there's a lot of money sitting out here. But this is the genetics that we selected for, you know, to get back to a more grass-friendly animal. So you got to save some of these heifers, and we'll cull them as they have calves. We'll sort again, and the ones that get too tall and gangly and don't fit our program, they get sorted out. And you know, over the next 4 years, you know, you'll wind up with about half of these as a cow, and the other half will continue to get sold as a young cow, which brings a lot of money. A young bred cow that's one that you don't like, there's probably somebody around that thinks they ought to have more legs on them. That white one there is a 4th Charolais and 3/4 Red Angus. She's being exposed to a half Red Angus, half South Pole bull. So, and you know, probably someday we'll save that heifer. We're going to kind of quit buying any bulls probably and just raise our own. That's what we've been doing. But we still got a lot of good Mush Rush genetic bulls and Kit Farrow genetic bulls that we bought. So we just keep kind of flipping them back and forth on each other and developing our own strain of natural grandma, reddish, white and red, and we'll start selecting then for the ones that shed their hair off and all those good things that you can do later. But right now we're just feeding cows. So that cow is standing in a clump of warm season grass eating ragweeds. The one behind her, that red one behind her, is also eating ragweeds. But that warm season grass that's right off that cow's stomach right there, she just stood some of it back up. See, it's sticking up there. It's over the top of her back, so it's about 5 foot tall. That one blade is. That is Eastern gamma grass that's mixed in there. I guarantee you that'll be the second thing they go after they get the horseweed leaves stripped. See, she's being really delicate here. She's not standing. She's just going around and just picking the leaves off of it. Down low now, she's getting another leaf right down there. They're just amazing to watch. She'll probably bite one of them ragweeds off in just a second. She's just, God gave her everything she needed to know, Jim Gary said, to be a successful cow. The only thing he didn't give her is the knowledge of how to make money for you. That's something God didn't think of, because he kind of intended for you to depend on him, not the world. But you know, I'm still in that state of having to depend on God and manage my cows with some intelligence. She's got some more warm season grass coming up around her heads. That one had a head on it. So, anyways, up close and personal, with the Natural Grandma crew here, stripping weeds off on a nice cool August morning. So at Natural Grandma, we just wish you were having this good a day.